Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fourth sector series. This panel, we have some amazing social entrepreneurs, actually from all over Colorado. And today our topic is discussing how are we leading in a social impact business through this pandemic. It's not been an easy year on anyone, I think is safe to say, but really looking at how do you come together during this time, but also stand out and make sure that your business is going to survive what's been really rough on a lot of businesses this year. So I'm Stacy Burns. I'm the Chief Impact Officer with Colorado Institute for Social Impact. And Jonathan Lever, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Stacy, and thank you to Perry, James, and Ben for being on the panel today. We're very excited to have all of them. You're going to hear from them in a moment. Before we jump into just some really good questions with them and some really great insights, just wanted to tell everybody just a little bit more about what the Institute does, who we are, and how we are organized. So I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment once I get the permissions. And just a couple slides because it's just easier to see what's going on right now during the pandemic. What are some of the issues that people are seeing? And again, what are some of the opportunities? There's some opportunities out there for people to do things differently in business and to really provide more of a framework for purpose-driven businesses. And so we're going to talk about that here as well. So again, thank you everybody for joining us to leading a social impact business during COVID. And I am the co-founder of the Institute along with Stacy, as well as the CEO. And just really quickly here, the vision of the Institute is we believe that the social impact economy powers a new business definition of success. What does that mean? It means that people measure success in dollars, how much money do they make, but they also measure, we believe, success by how much impact they create. So this is about purpose and profit. And you're going to hear from some social entrepreneurs that are doing it right and doing it well, that they are making money, but they're also making purpose. They're creating impact in their communities. And then the second piece to this is our mission is harness social impact to accelerate the evolution of business. What does that mean? It means that we believe that there is an evolution of capitalism that is taking place right now. It started before the pandemic, but the pandemic is absolutely making this move faster, and people are paying more and more attention to it. And so this new version of capitalism is also known as the stakeholder model of capitalism, but I'll get to that here in a minute with some interesting details. The fourth sector of the economy. This is the fourth sector series, as we like to call these special panels. And the fourth sector really is about talking about this new sector of the economy. So people are familiar with the for-profit sector, as well as the public sector and government, and the nonprofit sector or the plural sector. But tonight we're going to focus on social entrepreneurs that really inhabit this fourth sector of the economy. We're going to talk to business owners that are doing things in this new sector of the economy to provide value in multiple ways, whether that is a social enterprise, a social business, conscious capitalism, or some other type of legal entity, or even a certified B Corp. This is the framework that we use at the Institute to describe this fourth sector of the economy and the social entrepreneurs that make it up. And so you're going to hear from folks from across the spectrum tonight and hearing more about how their business models work and what they do. In each one of these buckets, this is just some quick examples of a social enterprise. A lot of people know Bombas Socks, social business, Newman's Own, Conscious Capitalism, Starbucks Coffee, and a public benefit corporation, Patagonia. So again, just some quick examples of companies outside of Colorado. But we're going to hear from folks that are doing some great work here in Colorado. And what's cool about this is new information that we now have. And the cool thing about this is that there are a lot more startups in the fourth sector than there was even a year ago. And we have a number now as well. And right now, what we anticipate or what we see as far as the percentage of GDPs, it's about 10% right now as far as what makes this up and this new sector up in the US and in Europe. So this is a great kind of start, I would say, because we're not done. We're just getting rolling here. But 10% of GDP is what is expected to make up this number right now in the US and in Europe. And so let's talk about COVID, and let's switch gears here. There's a lot of stuff going on at the national level, and there's also a lot of stuff going on at the international level. This first piece of information that's out there is there's a global call for CEOs to focus on building business and making it better. And so what they are calling it is a purpose-based economy. There are a lot of people that believe in this kind of the post-COVID world will signal the end of an era, will signal the end of one economy, and will start another. There are a lot of people that believe that this should be and will be a purpose-driven economy. And so again, going back to making money is important, but you also got to focus on the purpose that goes with that. And so there are a lot of businesses that are signing on to these pledges. There are a lot of organizations, corporations, companies all over the world and the US that are really thinking different about business and are trying to not just build the economy back, but build it better. So you'll hear more from that. I want to do just a couple quick slides on just some of the data and research that's showing up. And this is going to come from a company called Just Capital. This is a group that this is a nonprofit, but it was formed by capitalists, and they're committed to this whole notion of stakeholder capitalism. One of the things that we're seeing that is going extremely well right now during the pandemic is a switch. This was already going before the pandemic started, but we're seeing a lot more people focus on the stakeholder model of capitalism versus just the shareholder model. So people want to make money, as they've already talked about, but at the same time, we want people to focus on treating their employees and their workers well, treating their customers well, investing in their communities, having an ethical supply chain, and focusing on environmental sustainability. So these are kind of the tenets that make up the stakeholder model of capitalism. Just Capital believes that business is going to be key to doing this. And I love this third bullet here. 19 trillion is the US private sector size. That is 4 times the size of government and 40 times the size of private philanthropy. If you follow the money of where impact is happening, businesses are the ones that can create the most impact. And so those are the folks you're going to hear from tonight that are using their business models to create change. 89% of Americans agree, and this is from Just Capital, they were surveyed during the pandemic, agree that the pandemic has exposed underlying structural problems right now in the United States, and that this moment of crisis provides opportunities for corporations and business to hit reset, to embrace stakeholder capitalism and focus on, again, as we said, really this whole notion of everybody kind of else that's in this model. So yes, we're going to make money. Yes, we're going to focus on shareholders. But we have got to focus on workers, customers, communities, and the environment. And then this slide here is the last one that I will have, and then we'll turn it over. We'll meet our panel. This is something that's very interesting that's showing up right now within this new environment of COVID. This is really what Americans believe companies should be focusing on right now. So no surprise, the first one there, 78% believe that companies should be focusing on their shareholders. 82% of people believe they should be taking care of their customers. Again, no surprise, any business should be doing this, right? But here's what we're seeing right now. Businesses should have impact on supporting their local communities, the health and well-being of their workforce, the financial well-being of their workers, especially the lowest paid, and the environment. So these numbers are all up significantly from other times. But again, we're seeing that the definition of success is broadening. The definition of impact that a business has is broadening. And so again, what we see right now is this rise of the fourth sector, the rise of social entrepreneurship. And I think this is just really, really exciting to kind of think about business in a different way and from a different perspective. So that's just a little bit about what's going on right now to set the stage for everybody tonight. A little bit of information about the Colorado Institute for Social Impact, but it's not about us. It's about these fantastic people that we have with us today. And so just a quick introduction for each of them. I would like to introduce you to, and again, this is in no particular order, but Mr. James Proby, who is the founder and chief ethos officer for the Men's Exchange, Ms. Perry Bolts, who is the founder of Eclectico, and Mr. Ben Kurtz, who is co-founder of Helping Habit. So welcome, everybody. We're very excited to have you on this panel today. And Stacy, I'm going to turn it over to you with the first question.
Sure. So, Mr. Proby, if you'll kick us off, just please tell us about yourself as a social entrepreneur and a little bit about your social impact business, if you would.
I am James Proby. I'm a Colorado Springs native. My business is called the Men's Exchange. We have a pretty simple model. We are a men's clothing store that focuses on men's business and dress apparel. Everything in our shop is donated. Everything goes out to dry cleaning. Once it's been cleaned and laundered, it comes back into our shop. Anyone in the whole wide world can shop here. Everything is $40 or less. So a full suit with us is $40. A sport jacket is $30. Dress shirts are 10, slacks are 10. We do full sizings and fittings with everyone. So we do all of your measurements. We put them on a sizing card. We give them back to you. And then we go through a fit session with you. So we'll discuss with you how a suit is supposed to fit chest, shoulders, and sleeve length, how pants are supposed to fit waist, seat, and pant length, how dress shirts are supposed to fit in the neck and sleeve length. And then for every 9 or so people that shop with us, we are able to dress one person in our community at no cost.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, James. Appreciate that. Perry, if you wouldn't mind telling us just about yourself as a social entrepreneur and how your social impact business operates.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Perry Boltz. I am the founder of Eclectic Co. We are a local sustainable handmade boutique that operates as a co-op in Colorado Springs, actually 2 locations, one in downtown and one in Old Colorado City. All together in the 2 stores, we house about 85 different artists, makers, curators, all kinds of creative businesses. So we serve as an incubator for these creative businesses to grow their reach, to reach customers and maintain profitability in their own creative businesses.
And Mr. Ben Kurtz, your turn to tell us about yourself and Helping Habit, please.
So my name is Ben Kurtz. I'm a Colorado native as well, and my co-founder and I were both attorneys and working in the legal market in Colorado and wanted to go out and volunteer, and we found that it was much more difficult than we thought it should be to find local nonprofits, and even when we found them, it was even more difficult to schedule with them. So we thought there should be a better way, and we looked into the software tools that existed and found that there were some that allowed for an easier connection, but there were very few nonprofits on those. And when we looked into why, we saw that they were all for-profit companies that made 100% of their revenue charging nonprofits monthly fees. So since 80% of nonprofits have a budget of less than $500,000, not many causes or organizations can afford or are willing to be on those tools. So we thought, why don't we create a platform that any nonprofit can benefit from, any nonprofit can participate in, and then we can monetize the audiences that are looking to interact with those organizations and those causes. So that's what we did. We created Helping Habit. It is a engagement and logistics platform for individuals, nonprofits, and corporations.
Thank you. Perry, I have to ask, are you a Colorado native?
I'm not. I've been here 10 years.
Dang it, 4 out of 5.
Sorry, guys.
4 to 5 is pretty good though these days.
We'll accept you as one of our own, Perry. It's okay.
Now, thank you everybody for joining us. As you can see, we've got really some nice, diverse social entrepreneurs that are doing a lot of great work in the Colorado community. So thanks for the work that you are all doing. Perry, the first question is for you. Obviously, since we're talking about COVID, we're still in the middle of a pandemic right now, but you're going strong and you're doing some very innovative things. You're making sure that you're out there in the community and you're getting sales. And so this is important right now, generating revenue, right? So please tell us about how you pivoted and how you plan to stay working through COVID and the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. So Eclectico is traditional retail, brick and mortar. But when the initial shutdowns happened, we were closed for about 9 weeks. That really allowed us to pivot to online, which is a platform that we had already. We had an online store, but it was pretty weak and was definitely underutilized. So honestly, the time during shutdown allowed us to focus on our online store, really beef that up. We went from about 80 or 90 products to about 400 at the height of the shutdown. So it gave us time to focus on those other avenues. And really how we sustained ourselves was doing anything and everything that we could to make our customers comfortable. So curbside delivery, porch drops, really anything that they were comfortable with, we were willing to do. So our model uses our vendors' time instead of charging exorbitant commission rates for their work. So they give us their time instead, and we had vendors all hands on decks for home deliveries, for taking product images to put on the website. We basically mobilized everyone in a different way And that allowed us to stay afloat during the phases of the lockdown. So we kind of phased out of that into private shopping and basically just being really nimble with whatever was happening locally and what our customers were telling us based on surveys and feedback, doing whatever made them comfortable to make sales.
Harry, that's a really powerful point. Obviously, your mission is to make sure that those makers, are in your business model and they're in there in the store, actually selling those wares. And what a great way of that's your mission, and your mission is helping you to pivot because now you've got that workforce that's out there helping to make deliveries and helping you pivot. And so I think that's just a great example of just being innovative, but at the same time, because of the mission and the way you set up your business model, it's helping you through COVID. That's just a great.
Exactly. And everyone has different strengths. So whether it was like, I'm really not even comfortable leaving my house and being in the car, then, great. Can you be sending emails to our customers, or can you be taking quality photos to produce new content for our website? And so really utilizing each person's strengths got us through.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
All right, Ben, the next question is for you. Helping Habit has also grown during COVID. Can you tell us why you believe you were positioned for that growth, and what have you done to keep up with the demand of the growth?
Yeah, so we, being an online platform and an engagement tool for nonprofits to be able to connect and find resources in their community, we were pretty well positioned to kind of be in the new online world where everybody's online now. And there's a lot of nonprofits that we saw that realized that the way they were doing things previously wasn't going to work anymore, and they needed a different way. And we're a free tool for all nonprofits, so it was it brought a lot of attention and people to our doors that we may not have been able to reach otherwise. So that was a good way that we grew, and we've been able to keep up with the demand just by, we've been working on our onboarding. We've been trying to do more in-person onboarding to make sure that, the people that are on the system are comfortable with it and are able to use it effectively rather than having to spend that time later. So that's been helpful. And we've also been able to staff up and add a CTO, which has taken a lot of the pressure off of us to manage the technical side of it and the business side of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
James, next question is for you. You had an interesting kind of change this year. You decided to stop the operation of your nonprofit arm during COVID. Can you tell us more about your decision to do that, and the why and the what that looks like moving forward?
People would think that's crazy, but we did stop using and we relinquished our 501c3 status. With the change in the government and taxation, it becomes almost useless for individuals to be able to donate clothing to us so that they can write it off of their taxes. So that was a useless change. It made our 501c3 in that space basically invalid. We were initially set up so that we could run separate programs with that and possibly obtain funding through other nonprofit sources, through grants and grant makers. The challenge is when you're getting grants, the grantor has the ability to tell you how to spend your money. If they're giving you money, they can tell you how you have to spend it. And a great example is, there are grants from the Department of Justice that says we will give you this amount of money to help those individuals who have been justice involved or are coming out of prison to get dressed. That means if we're dressing someone who's in need, but they haven't committed a felony or have been caught for that, then we wouldn't be able to help them. That seemed way too restrictive. So we wanted the freedom that being a social impact business provides us. It gives us the latitude to be able to see anyone in our community that we know is in need and to be able to help them, and to do so without restriction and without suggesting you have to fall into this funding stream or that funding stream. Just that you're in need right now and we're going to help right now. That's kind of been the biggest issue in that. It created an extra layer of accounting and paperwork that we just didn't end up needing. And we realized after doing that for about 3 years, we don't need to be called a nonprofit to do the right thing. We need to continue to just be a social impact business and continue to outreach. So the way that we impact the public hasn't changed. The way that the public interacts with us hasn't changed. It just changed some of the filings that we deal with the government, and it changes the way that we explain to people that tax laws have changed and you won't be able to write this off anyway. So.
And hopefully that simplified. It sounds like it helped your business model just become a little bit easier. And in these times, that's definitely a good thing. But you got to be innovative all the time is what I'm hearing from you. You always got to look for opportunities to make it simpler, better, and more effective.
Absolutely. You know, there's always opportunities to figure out how you can streamline your business, like you've heard from Perry and like you've heard from Ben. There's always opportunities to figure out where you can move forward. And as you've illustrated, this COVID timeframe and social justice timeframe and the challenges that America is facing right now, these are just great opportunities for us to figure out how do we grow and get better. You know, puberty was a challenge for every single human being on this planet, but at the end of it, hopefully you get better. That's all we're doing as a nation. We're figuring out how to get better.
Absolutely. Thank you, James.
Ben, so when you all started Helping Habit, you incorporated as a public benefit corporation, which is a legal entity here in Colorado that identifies you as a for-profit with the IRS, but allows you to kind of write into those articles of incorporation some type of societal impact or community impact. Can you talk a little bit more about maybe how that changed how you operated this year or how people have responded to you and really what that looks like for your future and how it could change things?
Yeah, definitely. Legally, that protection, the public benefit corporation protection or entity, gives us protection from our eventual shareholders if we're taking profits from the company and we're using those to give nonprofits more free tools and more things. It gives us protection from our shareholders saying that we're misusing that money and we're not giving them the profits. So that's kind of the reason we did is for that protection. Partly because we were considering being a nonprofit, but we felt like our business idea had enough scalability and had enough potential to make money that we could grow it faster as a nonprofit or as a for-profit PBC and be able to seek investment in the investment community. And so besides the legal reasons, the other reason that we're a PBC or that we decided to go that route is because it really gives us a way to differentiate ourselves from our competition. There's a lot of other software companies that are doing pieces of what we do, but no one's really doing what we do and giving free tools to nonprofits. And, while that might be a complicated business model to explain, us being a PBC kind of lets people know that something's different because it's not an Inc., it's not an LLC. It's a legal commitment to doing good in the community that kind of gives us a leg up. And then additionally, it's something that, working with, because we have really three different customers. We have nonprofits, we have individuals, and we have corporations. And in all three, it's beneficial because in corporations, they want to be doing good in the community. So if they're working with us, and so they want to work with a company that's doing good in the community, which is, how we're structured. Individuals, same thing. And then with nonprofits, then it gives them kind of a layer of trust with us since we're coming to them as a new company and a startup with a new idea that they haven't seen before. It kind of lets them know that what we're doing is legit and there isn't some sort of trick or hidden agenda.
And Ben, you had mentioned before that nonprofits sought you out this year specifically because it gave them a platform of visibility that maybe they weren't going to get through that annual fundraiser. Did you find a lot of for-profits seeking you out as well, wanting to do good during this time?
We haven't formally launched we were set to launch our corporate social responsibility management software in March or in early April. We were done beta testing in March. And so the timing, we put that on the back burner to try to jump in to help with COVID issues and added some COVID functionality to our platform to help with remote volunteering opportunities and in-kind donations and some other things that people needed help finding, connecting people that had resources with the nonprofits that desperately needed them during that time. So we didn't really launch it then, so we didn't see any corporations reaching out. But what we are seeing now that we are talking to corporations is that the COVID experience has definitely opened their eyes to the need to do more in the community and figuring out ways that they can do more in the community in the way that their team wants them to and appreciates, instead of just a few high-level people picking, we're going to work with these three big nonprofits. They can see what their team is doing in the nonprofit world and be able to support those causes and those organizations.
So that public benefit corporation status could also really draw them to you, that you're different and could play in the same way it has with that nonprofit building of trust and everything associated with that.
Yeah, definitely. No, there's two types of corporations we deal with. One that are doing it because they know they need to for either, some reason related, like banks have to be doing some sort of CSR for Community Reinvestment Act. And then there's companies that are doing it because they really believe it. And there's a difference between those. And I think the PBC designation helps us with both, because the people that want to use it just for marketing because they have to, having our name as a PBC attached to what they're doing is a good thing with their board and with the decision makers at the bigger companies. And then the ones that are doing it just because they want to do good, want to give their money to people who are doing good. The same way I think everyone, and the whole reason we're here doing this panel is because that's a big change in I think everyone in America's mind of, we should be giving our money to the people that are going to do good with it and not just going to the cheapest price or what's right in front of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Perry, I hear there's some major congratulations in order for you. I think you have opened a second store, which is super exciting. So we have two here in our region, which is absolutely amazing. And so the question is really kind of centered around that. And the question is this, is that what made you decide that now is the time to do this, to open that second store? And did you make any adjustments to your planning based on the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. So a second store has always been my vision. The model can really work anywhere, and the model is self-sustaining. So having the artists inside that pay rent and contribute to the model really makes this business is profitable no matter what. So whether or not the customers are there, the model is profitable. So obviously we want customers to be there so that all of my vendors are profitable as well. So that was definitely a delicate balance. So my store manager, Ani Barrington, is now a full business partner with me. So she and I had been looking at opportunities. We'd been approached by the Denver airport earlier in the year. We're thanking our lucky stars that we did not do that in January. That would have been that would have been a unique nightmare. So yeah, we'd been approached and had been keeping our eyes open for opportunities. And, the pandemic definitely kind of threw a monkey wrench into everything, but we knew that the model was tried and true. And having a wait list of about 110 artists at the time when we opened our second location, that really showed us that we had more people to serve in the community. We had toyed with, do we go to Denver? Do we, try and open a second location elsewhere? But knowing how many makers there were still to serve in the community really kept us here. So when a retail space opened up in Old Colorado City, where the landlords were a little bit trigger shy also, they'd had a couple of concepts in there that didn't make it through the pandemic, and then previously, didn't fulfill their full lease as well. So, they were like, are you okay with a 1-year lease? And, in retail, that's pretty rare. Most places want 3 to 5 to 10 years. So it was just this perfect, like, if it crashes and burns, it's a year of our lives. So, just taking calculated risks and keeping our eyes on the vision and knowing that we're serving so many more people, and knowing how much this community already rallied around us, really emphasizing shopping local, really emphasizing shopping artisanal goods. We knew that even if things, go sideways again, we have a lot of support from the community. And, we really are just hoping to prove ourselves in this 1-year period and continue on from there.
Well, it always amazes me how many makers you have and how many are trying to get in. And so adding another location, I mean, like you had to, you had so many people that had products and services that needed to get out there. And, what a great way to do it in that sense.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been great to bring in some new talent that we weren't able to do before. So yeah, we're really, really happy about that.
No, that's great. Thank you.
We are cruising through these questions. James, you are actually our final question for our panelists of the evening. We have seen large clothing brands, specifically some legacy clothing brands that are either closing stores right now or even filing bankruptcy in some cases. How are you seeing that as an opportunity for your model specifically, and maybe expanding that? And how does social impact play into how you'll differentiate yourself in the time to come from those organizations, and maybe use it as a platform for growth?
Great question. Thanks. Yeah, there's some really major changes that have gone in there. Like, the largest suit maker and longest standing suit maker in American history, Brooks Brothers, filed bankruptcy and closed, right? They've been open for over 200 years. Tailored Brands, who owns Joseph A. Banks, Men's Warehouse, and K&G Men's, has been struggling with bankruptcy for the last 18 months, and they opted to just close 500 stores. JCPenney's closed. Steinmart locally closed. International Mail closed. One of our local longtime suit makers, William Kurtz and Associates, William Kurtz Limited, closed. It's amazing to see how many of these long-term legacy national worldwide suit makers are closing up shop, and we are continuing to move forward and to forge ahead. And for us, the opportunity in that is that there are just less places where you can actually put on a suit. So what's funny about that is that this whole thing didn't start today. This whole thing started in around 1990 as far as men's clothing is concerned. And right around the early 90s is the time frame when most department stores used to have someone in each of the clothing each of the clothing departments that was a tailor and a haberdasher, and someone who knew about men's and women's clothing, and someone who would size you and fit you and tell you how things are supposed to fit on you. And about that time frame, corporations figured out that they could do away with the higher salaried, educated, experienced employee, replace them with a minimum wage employee who was simply going to stock the shelves, and it would not impact business in a negative way, which is true. It did not for about 8 or 10 years. And then after that point, you lose the individuals who already knew how to fit themselves into suits. And the next generation of individuals that are coming in have no idea how clothing is supposed to fit. And so we've got 2 generations now of individuals who've never been fitted in a suit, who have no idea how pants are actually supposed to fit, who don't know how a shirt is supposed to fit. And so the service that we provide is making sure that we provide them with their sizes so that they know what size they are, and then additionally show them how things are supposed to fit on their body. And the transformation that happens in someone's face when they see clothing that fits on them, when they get a chance to see themselves with fresh eyes in a different light, is one of the most amazing things that I get to do every day. I'm blessed to be able to see every single day. That is a space where this gets an opportunity to grow, right? We've all been sold this statement that online is the only place where businesses can grow. And the reality is, when you dig deeper into that, online provides a convenience, but when you provide a better shopping experiences, people prefer to go to a store, to a brick and mortar store. But you have to provide them with service, and you have to provide them with something that is not a craptastic attitude. You have to provide them with expertise. You have to provide them with value. And that's what we seek to do every single day, to add value into individuals' lives. I believe that is only a place that's going to grow. I believe that we are going to get a space where we are going to need and crave much more interaction. There's going to be it's not as if Amazon is ever going to go away, right? Online retailers are never going to go away. This is a reality of what we do forever. But providing someone service, connection, and experience when they come in and shop is the foundation for something that I sincerely believe is going to be long-term, not in this community, but in this country. I think that's going to be a nationwide opportunity that's in there. It provides a bit more effort and a bit more caring, but I really do believe the opportunities there are unparalleled. I was talking about this earlier today, that the Japanese or the Chinese kanji for problem is the same kanji that it is for opportunity. So when we look at this problem that's in our lives, if we just reframe that in our minds and we reframe the context as that sits in our brain, and we don't think that we have a problem, we think we have an opportunity. And we apply that with the French word of entrepreneur, which is really problem solver. And we have the ability to solve these problems and to come up with something that is a new dynamic, something that is new and incredible for everyone, for absolutely everyone. That's an incredible space. And that's what we believe is going to be the greatest opportunity coming out of this. I see us in the spaces of we were planning on trying to offer franchises at the end of this year. That's going to be something that's going to happen into next year, because I am not interested in owning one of these in every community. I am interested in coaching and developing and helping someone who is invested in that community solve the problems in their own community with their own organic answers, with their own organic connections. I just want to be a support system in that space so they don't have to make the same mistakes I did, and so that we can help guide them in those spaces so that they can be as impactful as possible. Right? We want to profit from that, but we want to profit less so that we can infuse each one of those communities with more money to impact their communities, right? We want to replicate this any place that raises their hand and says, I want a men's exchange in my community. We want to make this work. And that's what our goal is. Our goal is to figure out, how do we help you? How do we change the word or to the word and? How do we create the spaces where there is profit and purpose? How do we create the spaces where you grow and it's a land of abundance? How do you solve society's issues and create greater unity, right? How do we do all that? And this is just the greatest opportunity to do that. It really is an amazing time to do all that. So although we had, like Perry talked about, being closed for 8-9 weeks, that's about how long we were closed. We had the exact same problems of being blessed with still being able to pay our bills in that time frame without having any revenue coming in. And the first month we were open, people weren't necessarily flocking back into our front doors. We don't have the ability to do what we do in an online format because literally there are hundreds of other stores that do it and would do it better. But we do have the ability to sustain and to continue to move forward and to pivot with the offerings. So we create as safe an environment as we can. We do temperature scans on everyone that comes in. We are a mask required place. I'm doing clothes fitting in surgical gloves or rubber gloves through the entire process, or sterile gloves, I should say. They're not necessarily rubber. But we don't avoid human touch in this process. We just change it so that it's not necessarily skin to skin, but we still get a chance to walk through and dress individuals every single day. Where there's a will, there's a way. And we are willful that we are going to impact our communities and that we are going to continue with our businesses, and we are going to make our country live up to the promises that it's made. And we're going to do that through commerce.
No, I love that, James. Spoken like a true social entrepreneur. Love it. And again, you got to be innovative. You got to be creative. You got to pivot and take advantage of the opportunities. So thank you. Just one last question for everybody. It's the same question for everyone. And really what I think is important right now for people to kind of hear, and I'd love to hear from each one of you, and in no particular order, what kind of words of encouragement, words of even advice would you give to people that are watching as they are trying to really kind of figure out, maybe they're looking for some inspiration from each one of you of, why to keep going or how to keep going, but something like along those lines. What are kind of just some final words from each of you to people that are watching about, how to stick to it, how to stay with it, and things they should pay attention to?
I can go since I'm not on mute, and I think both Perry and James are right now. But I think I would say just jump in and do it. Not to steal Nike's tag phrase, but just do it. I mean, there's a ton of reasons why you shouldn't do anything, and if you focus too much on that, you will miss out on opportunities. And I think that's not to say you should do things haphazardly, but you do your research. If you see an opportunity, you believe in it, just go do it. You'll be surprised about where the path takes you and where you think you're going and where you'll end up, because things happen and you'll be provided for, and you'll get more information and be able to make better decisions and end up in a place that you may not have envisioned, but is better than what you imagined. So I think just doing it is, something coming from the legal world where it's probably the opposite of that. Just limit your risk. The social entrepreneur world, I think, is, at the end of the day, if you take a shot at doing something like this and you fail, you might have made the world a better place in your community in some way. And you at least will have the peace of mind that you did it. And that's probably worth more than whatever security you'd be giving up to go out and do it.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben. Perry or James? Final thoughts?
James can have the last word. He's good at that. He's good at the rounding it all out. So I'll go next. Yeah, I definitely echo everything. Sorry, that's my dog. I definitely echo everything that Ben said. So you're never going to have all the answers. It's never going to be the perfect time. You're never going to have all of the solutions figured out. But just one foot in front of the other, and just progress over perfection, and trust your gut, and all of those things. You will find answers, and you will figure it out. I think resiliency and tenacity and all of those words have to describe social entrepreneurs. And there are so many great companies and programs and things out there to help you problem solve whatever it is. Is it time clock? Is it inventory? There's so many startups that have sprung out of the COVID era because people have had to do things a different way, and just obscure programs and processes that you never knew existed. So whatever feels like this giant problem standing in your way, I guarantee you can find a solution for it. So just get started.
Thank you, Perry.
Just want
All right,
to
James, you got the last word. Sorry, Stacy, go ahead.
I just want to insert something really quickly there too. Other resources are other social entrepreneurs. These folks that are on this panel right now are willing to give their time to sit on this panel and share their wisdom with you. They're willing to sit down with you for a cup of coffee, and they are willing to share with each other the things that they've struggled with and the things that they've succeeded in. And that is the beauty of the fourth sector. That is the beauty of what we can take from those that have come before us and really build on. How do we collaborate to make everybody better? All of our business models better, really start to solve some big, hairy issues and make a difference in the world. So, all right, James, you get to do the final rah-rah speech.
I think the word that's been used most in this entire panel discussion is the word better. And I believe that all of us believe that tomorrow will absolutely be better than today, right? We all believe that tomorrow can be better than today. And the question is, what are you going to do to make tomorrow better than today? And if we all take our talents, our skills, our insight, and we harness our energy and we point it towards the very simple vector of how do we get better? Not how do I get better? It's how do we get better? Then we will all rise in a space that is unparalleled and something we haven't seen yet. But we have the ability to get there. So the thing that gets all of us up in the morning is understanding that we all know tomorrow is going to be a better space, but we got to put in some work today. And we're going to do that stuff today because we love the space we're in today. We don't have all the answers today. Today is going to throw some brand new challenges at us that is an opportunity for us to solve them. And we look forward to those. We are twisted individuals that look forward to the new challenges that come to us every day so that we get to figure those out, right? We get to do that every day, and so will you, and so will all of us. But you get to vote with your dollars, and you get to have an impact with where you spend your money. And you get to decide what our country, what business is going to look like moving forward and into the future. We all believe we've got a greater opportunity in front of us than we've had behind us. And it's just not being afraid and being willing to step forth into that darkness, into that void, and illuminate it with nothing but spirit, hope, and work. And that's the only thing that we get to bring to this table every day. It is such an amazing gift that we take for granted, but we will be able to truly have the greatest impact just by getting up and sharing our talents and putting forth the work.
I agree with you 100%, James. Thank you. Well said. Appreciate you, James. Thank you for what you're doing. Perry, thank you for all you're doing in our community. And Ben, thank you for what you're doing in the Colorado community. Each of you is doing some phenomenal work, and none of us could do it without each other. Really, everybody's kind of started to say, and as Stacy said as well, just a thank you to what you're doing in our community. I mean, obviously, we want to make sure that people are aware of your businesses so they can support you. But at the same time, it goes much more than that. How can we make each other in our communities better? And I think that's what we're trying to accomplish a little bit today. So thank you, all of you, for making our communities better and for imparting some of your knowledge upon us, Stacy and I, but also the people that are watching. And, you know, I think the final thought is this, is we move forward into hopefully a post-COVID world, right? I think there really is a huge opportunity that we're seeing from multiple levels throughout the world. We don't want to just build the economy back the way it was. We have the opportunity now here, as James said, to build it better. Purpose first, purpose forward, purpose-driven businesses. I think that's going to be the name of the game. I think that's the future of capitalism. And thank you to all of you for what you do to accelerate and move this sector forward. Thank you, everybody. Stacy, any final thoughts from you?
No, so glad to have you all. Thanks for joining us tonight, you guys.
Thank you.
Everybody.